You're watching NFL Daily by Chat Sports. Mitchell Renz here, ready to walk you through the latest NFL rumors around some potential cut candidates. ESPN put out a fun and interesting article, so we're going to take a deep dive into some of those players. Before I do, dude, I got to give some love to today's sponsor, Magic Spoon. These guys are absolutely killing the healthy cereal game. If you guys want to get 13 grams of protein per bowl of cereal, then head on over to magicspoon.com/chat, and it's that comment. It's going to be in the comments. It's going to be in the description. I don't want you guys to miss this awesome offer here. $5 off your very first order and 100% guarantee that you're going to be satisfied. And if you're not, you can just send it back and get all your money back. I don't know what you guys have to lose. So seriously, go give Magic Spoon a try. I promise you, you're going to absolutely love it. It's magicspoon.com/chat. Will the Houston Texans end up cutting running back Mark Ingram? That's what we're talking about here on today's show, simply because ESPN decided to break down some potential cut candidates entering training camp, and Ingram was the player selected for Houston. The reason why I thought this was at least halfway peculiar is simply because, well, the Texans went out, they signed Ingram this offseason, and they were looking for a little bit more of running back depth chart. Now, the overall idea of moving on from a running back, it does make some sense, especially if you don't really plan on using him all that much. Scheduled to make $1.8 million, and it's a very crowded backfield, no doubt about that. Currently 9 running backs on the roster, and out of all the running backs, he is definitely the oldest at 31 years old. But Ingram, I'll say this, he's actually had a very good career, and it started off a little bit bumpy for the running back out of Alabama, but it's gotten better. This past season, though, with the Baltimore Ravens, J.K. Dobbins came in. He didn't really get a chance to really shine, and when you look at the numbers, 72 carries, 299 yards, 2 touchdowns, it's a big-time difference from what he did in 2019. But as it stands right now, here's the Texans' running back depth chart. David Johnson, he's the RB1, at least he better be, right? Especially if you're going to give up DeAndre Hopkins. Mark Ingram's the RB2. Phillip Lindsay, though, is your RB3. And then, oh yeah, Rex Burkhead is also a pretty solid depth piece. So you realistically have 4 running backs that I'll say are halfway decent. So in terms of moving on from Ingram, potentially it could be a thing because they didn't really ever anticipate Phillip Lindsay being on the free agent market, and then Denver let him go. So here's what ESPN had to say on Ingram at being a potential cut candidate. The Texans' running back group is deep right now, and it seems unlikely that there's room for Ingram, David Johnson, Phillip Lindsay, and the newly signed Rex Burkhead on the final 53-man roster. Given that the Texans restructured Johnson's contract in March and doubled his guaranteed money, he will probably make the team. Ingram, who signed a 1-year deal in March, could be the odd man out. Now, the one thing that I'll always say that Ingram's done a pretty halfway decent job with is being able to run between the tackles, but also catch the football. So over the last 5 years, here are his numbers from his time with New Orleans, and then his last 2 seasons with the Baltimore Ravens. In 2019, I mean, over 1,000 yards, 10 rushing touchdowns. He really saw an extra pep in his step. Maybe it had a little bit more to do with Lamar Jackson and that offense, but still, he was very productive. And then from a receiving standpoint, he does give you some of that ability. Obviously, David Johnson's a good pass-catching running back. Rex Burkhead's a good pass-catching running back. Phillip Lindsay's shown some glimpses as well. But for Ingram to get $1.8 million, if you're not going to use him, but I still think that he could probably handle 100, 125 touches. It's just, is that worth $1.8 million? So y'all can go ahead and let me know. Will the Texans decide to cut Mark Ingram? I want you to go down in the comments section right now and type Y for yes, or if you're like, you know what, no, I think they're going to hang on to this guy, you can go ahead and type your red for no. If I was Houston, I would actually keep Ingram because I still think he's got some juice left in the tank. Now, if you want to move on from a few other players, you could go ahead and do that. But for the Texans, they made a lot of mediocre moves, but I actually like the move of Mark Ingram. Something that y'all are going to absolutely love, Magic Spoon. And if you haven't already tried it, pay attention because this deal is going to just rock your socks. If you're looking for just awesome tasting cereal that reminds you of the cereal you had as a kid, go to magicspoon.com/chat. You guys are going to be able to get $5 off your very first order. Why would somebody go out and go ahead and do it? High in protein. 13 to 14 grams per bowl. Usual cereal has got only 2 grams of protein per bowl. Low in carbs, only 4 net carbs. Like, that is a incredible feat. A usual bowl of cereal, you're talking about 26, 27 carbs per bowl. That's just insane. Sweet and delicious. I don't know if anybody's ever out there has tried to taste something that's like super artificially flavored. That's not what Magic Spoon is. This is 0 grams of sugar, and it tastes like the cereal that y'all had as a kid. So go on over to magicspoon.com/chat. That link is going to be available for y'all in the comments and in the description. And if for whatever reason you don't like the cereal, guess what? You can send it back, get your money back, 100% guaranteed. Shout out to Magic Spoon for hooking up all Chat Sports watchers. So we're doing one cut candidate from each NFL team. Now we're going to make our way on over to the Arizona Cardinals. Losing my train of thought here. And we're going to be talking about whether or not they could potentially move on from one of their star players, Jordan Hicks, who is arguably one of the better linebackers in the league. Now, in terms of overall what ESPN decided to do, they decided to break down some potential cut candidates, and for Arizona, Hicks was the guy chosen. Here's what ESPN had to say on why they decided to go with Jordan Hicks. 29 years old, has been one of the most durable and productive players in the NFL during his 2 seasons with the Cardinals, playing the 6th most snaps and having the 6th most tackles since 2019. Then when you look at his numbers from just 2019 alone, 149 tackles. He had 11 tackles for loss, 3 interceptions, 6 pass breakups. Then in 2020, 118 tackles, 11 tackles for loss, an INT, and 4 PBUs. So for some people out there, like, wait a minute, why in the heck would the Arizona Cardinals decide to move on from Hicks? It's simply due to the position that they decided to draft in the first round of this past year's draft. They went ahead and selected Zaven Collins, who I think you're going to see a lot of good things out of him from Tulsa. He ended up winning the Defensive Player of the Year in college football, which is going to be a pretty interesting thing to see how he flourishes. Plus, Isaiah Simmons was a player that I absolutely loved when he first came out of Clemson. But to continue on here with ESPN on why Hicks could be on that roster bubble, with Arizona's decision to announce rookie Zaven Collins and second-year linebacker Isaiah Simmons as their starting inside linebackers before summer camp was over, there's a good chance that Hicks, who started all 32 games the past 2 seasons, is not in the team's plans going forward. He could either be moved through a trade or be released at the end of camp despite his veteran leadership. So when I saw this player on this, article by ESPN, I actually made the argument like this could actually be one of the bigger players released and could be one of the more surprising cut candidates in the National Football League. If Arizona decides to move on from Hicks, they're going to save $3 million. And in terms of, does it make sense to move on from him? If your plan is to go with Collins and Isaiah Simmons, who are 2 very young, talented players, then maybe it does make some sense. The other reason why is because they have phenomenal depth at this position. Golden, you could make the argument, is probably one of the better contracts in the entire league. Chandler Jones, obviously, is probably one of the more underrated edge rushers, despite him being an absolute freak of nature every single year. But for the Arizona Cardinals, you're going to go with a youth movement. You could potentially move on from Hicks, and I don't know if they're going to end up cutting him. I still believe that there's going to be a team out there that could potentially trade for him, but maybe I'm 100% wrong on that. So you guys can make the call. Is Jordan Hicks the best player who could get cut this offseason? I want you to type 1 for yes, or I want you to type your 2 for no. This is kind of a difficult question simply because it's hard to be able to predict which guys get cut, but I'll say this. He's definitely going to be one of the top players that is moved this offseason. It might be a cut. It could be a trade. I just find it hard to believe that there's not going to be an NFL team out there that sees Jordan Hicks and everything that he can bring to your NFL roster. I get that he's getting up there in age, but for a team that's in win-now mode, why not go out and throw a late-round pick at Jordan Hicks? That's all I'm saying here. Now, if you guys find yourself looking for more NFL videos, what I want you to do, subscribe and turn on those notifications. I've been telling all the people that got those noties turned on that I'm going to start giving some love to the people who are watching our shows here. So what I want to be able to do is not only tell you to subscribe, but turn on your notifications. It's that little bell underneath that video. So click that. That way they're turned on. So the way that I know that people are part of the First Comment Club is because the video goes on the channel, you get the thing on your phone, you click it, and you're the first one to comment. So here are some of our latest videos at Chat Sports and the people that commented the very first. So shout out to Doodle Bob, KB Lame, Andrew Gonzalez, Mariners fan, and Andrew Gonzalez. So I guess the MVP of our last few videos is Andrew Gonzalez. So shout out to you, man. If you want to see your YouTube handle featured on a future show here at Chat Sports, turn on those notifications and be the first to comment. Are the Buffalo Bills going to move on from running back Matt Breida? If they do, it's going to save them $875,000. ESPN linked Breida to be a potential cap cut candidate entering the offseason, especially getting closer to training camp. Now, for Breida, he hasn't played a full season in the last 3 years. He was on the IR last season due to COVID and, had some ups and downs as well. I mean, even when he did get an opportunity to play for the Miami Dolphins last season, it wasn't all that great. Really, when you think about the goodness of Breida, it was with the San Francisco 49ers and that Kyle Shanahan run scheme. And can they get that in Buffalo? That still remains to be seen. But here's what ESPN had to say on why Breida could potentially be a player that doesn't quite make the 53-man roster. Breida signed with the Bills this offseason, and on paper, immediately added a home run hitting element that no other player on the roster possesses. But his place on the final 53-man roster is not set in stone. Breida still has to beat out Antonio Williams and Christian Wade for the final seat in Buffalo's running back room. Now, I understand the idea between, keeping Breida and not, but Breida maybe needs to help a little bit more on special teams, because with his inability to stay healthy, can you really rely on him being a running back that, whether you're going to bring in Zach Moss or whether you're going to take out Devin Singletary, you need to be able to have some reliability there. But as it stands right now, I do actually think that he is the RB3 on this roster. But the one thing that he offers you that Singletary and Moss simply do not offer you is that home run ability. And one of the biggest things that this Buffalo Bills offense really missed, especially on the ground, was somebody that could realistically break a big one open. Now, I like Singletary a lot. He's a good running back. I was hoping for a little bit more of a breakout year this past season, but he still averaged 4.4 yards per carry, 687 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. Zach Moss, coming out of Utah, was a back that I like. Now, he's also got some knee injuries to keep in mind, but he had 112 carries, 481 yards, 4 touchdowns. Let's face it, this football team is going to win with Josh Allen. They are going to be carried by Josh Allen, but the running backs also need to be able to actually carry the football. And if you can add a home run threat, if you can add a player that gives your offense just a little bit more versatility, that's obviously what you're looking for. So over the last 4 seasons, this is what Breida has done. And when I really go back and think about the great, Breida, it was realistically here with the San Francisco 49ers. But the other problem with that is, was it actually Breida, or was it part of that Kyle Shanahan offense? That still remains to be seen. So what do y'all think here? Is he going to end up making the final roster? If you think that he will, I want you to go ahead and type R for roster. If you don't think that Breida is going to end up making it, you can go ahead and type your C for cut. If I was the Bills, I would go ahead and I would keep him on this team, simply because if you have him in the backfield, the defense has to be able to respect his speed. So if you can respect his speed, that could potentially open up more things for Stephon Diggs, a Cole Beasley, even your quarterback Josh Allen. That's why I would go ahead and keep Matt Breida.